Hey there, YouTubers. All right, so I've got about half of my mid-tower cases here. I just wanted to go over some of the features that you're going to find if you were to actually look at buying a mid-tower case. Now, you can see just from this, and I've got at least one around the back there, that they're coming in all kinds of different sizes, even for mid-tower. So obviously there's some kind of range out there, whether it be height, width, in depth, that they try to keep these in. But in this case, you know, you can see that this tower on the right, which is a Matrix 50, one of my personal favorites, is obviously the biggest case out here. All right, so you're going to see differences in sizes. Okay, let's look at some of the obvious things. The front. This is tempered glass. You're not going to have a DVD or CD-ROM in there. But what you will get out of something like this is you'll be able to see those really cool fans that you might have bought that have LED lights. All right, this one can handle 3 of those. Case like this, you know, cheap plastic. Some people might like this. You could fit a DVD player, Blu-ray, CD drive, whatever in here, and possibly also a front panel that has a card reader and an additional USB 3.0. All right, something like this. This has slots for 2 drives, or a drive and a USB reader. And you're going to start to see some differences, obviously. Some of these are kind of boring in the front side. Some of these you'll find your USBs up on the top. So, like the Matrix right here, they are up top, okay? Pretty standard that you'll have one USB 3.0, you'll have a power button, you're going to have 2 USB 2.0s, a mic, headphone, and probably a reset button. Sometimes, and if we go over to this one, you're going to actually have an LED light strip. Okay, I don't have it plugged in, but there's an LED light strip. So some of the more expensive desktops have the LED light strip. So I'm not showing it here, but one of my previous favorite cases was the Matrix 55, which had LED in the front. All right, and it was really cool. So other things to note. Your better computers are going to have a vent grill on top, okay, with the ability to put additional fans in here. This is going to give you the best airflow that you can possibly get. Obviously, heat rises, right? So you want to have the ability to let the heat out the top. This also has the ability to have fans in it, so you can help pull that air out. Things that you'll notice on the better cases as well. You'll have the ability to vent cool air from the outside. This one is, you know, got a rather thick filter on it. Some of the other ones, like this case, don't have anything. This do-it-yourself here, you can just barely see it. It does have it. This do-it-yourself PC here, very minimal gap there. This case has no venting in it, and then that guy has a little bit, looks like in the bottom. So, I don't have all the panels on, but on the left-hand side, where you'll have your access, either you're going to have nice tempered glass, example right there. You could have acrylic, okay, which you know, may look alright. I'm a big fan of tempered glass. You could have a steel sheet on the side. You could have a steel sheet with vents in it, and you could have a steel sheet with an acrylic window. You could have a steel sheet with an acrylic window and a fan, or you could have a steel panel with vents and a fan. So hopefully I covered all those. On the right side, usually it's pretty much always going to be a steel panel, and some of those have some depth inside, like this one. You can run your cables on the side. A lot of them pops out, so if we can find one here, usually they do this so you can route your cables through there. All right, so the newer cases these days allow you to pretty much hide your power supply. So in this case, you really can't tell that you have the power supply in there. Now you could see it through here, you could see it through the back if there was one in there, but this case currently does not have one in it. So along the lines, I'm not a huge fan of that. I like to actually be able to tell which power supply I put in there. So I have so many computers here. This is much more helpful to say, okay, there is an actual power supply in there. And a lot of the computers that I've seen lately also have some venting in here where they do this, so that's also good to help the power supply as far as some of the cooling goes with that. Now, things that you also want to watch out for: if you buy a shorter mid tower, sometimes you don't have much of a gap between where your motherboard's going to sit up here in the top of the case, which makes routing the cables to the... So over in this area of your case, you always will find your 4-pin or 8-pin, or if you have AMD Ryzen 3000 chip with the new X5 70 motherboard, I think it is, you will actually have a 8-pin and a 4-pin. So you have to get those cables from the power supply all the way up and around, and if this is up against the motherboard, it's kind of screws things up for you. So it's nice to have a little gap up top, which the bigger case here, like the Deep Cool, there is quite a bit of a gap up there. All right. Now, other things to note: accessing the front of these, sometimes they come off easy. Usually, you pop that off and you can get the top off. The Deep Cool Matrix, same deal. I have a video out there where I show how I pop that off, and you can get easy access to your the fans to be able to tighten them in. Sometimes, though, you have your USBs and your power up here, and you have to be careful of the cables. All right, so other things. Obviously, a case like this has all kinds of access from the back. You have places to put your solid state drives or 2.5-inch drives. Being able to put them up on the actual frame there, and being able to access it with your SATA 3 cables and your SATA power. And then this, a frame like this or a case like this allows you to have access to the back of your CPU coolers. So if, as an afterthought, you decide to install something like this, if you have a big enough opening back there, you can put that on after the fact. If not, you have to remove the motherboard, which can be a kind of a hassle. Like let's say you have, if you can see it in there, the Intel fan, which that computer has, and to go back and do that after the fact is a bit of a pain. In this case, here's an example of having issues running your 8-pin connector to the top of the motherboard. Probably can't see up in there, but it is super tight between the motherboard and the top of the case. Now, could I have gotten it in there? Yeah. This one does not actually have, I don't have a heat shield for it, so it's kind of in there right now, and I'm going to go back and get that, hopefully that cable up above it, but I've already tried and had some difficulty, so may not be able to do it. Now in the backs, standard stuff you're going to find. Obviously your opening where your heat shield goes in this example. and usually a lot of times 80mm fan in the back. Then you've got your openings for your PCI Express cards. Usually this you've got 2 slots these days for a lot of the higher end graphics cards, if not 3. Now this is where you're going to see your power supply using 4 screws to secure it. And folks, that is almost about it. So finally, some of these cheaper cases, sheet metal can be thinner. Things, they do a lousy job of packing them. They get damaged in shipping. So things like that to be concerned about. Some of them have, maybe not this one, but have rougher, sharper points on them, where they haven't done the best job of machining. Or, they just don't, the seams aren't as good. So a lot of things to note there. Now, as far as colors go, pretty much it's black or white for these cases. Though there, are some other brands out there that do some other stuff. For the most part, in the lower ranges, it's going to be picking a black case or a white case with, the additional features, like this has some red on it, and that's got a little red. So other things, you want to check out, if your plans are to overclock and you need a good CPU cooler, making sure that your computer is wide enough to fit that CPU cooler in there, such as that guy, which I think we have an i5 9600K in there. Alright, so final thing to talk about. Now, the overall depth of your case is important, and this computer here is getting some work done on it, so we've got some cables here and there, but this one will support a very large graphics card. Obviously, from here across here, some of these cables may get in the way, but it is, going to support probably your biggest graphics card that's possible. So that is a nice feature. Now, some of the cases, if I can find one, here we go, good example. This case is not going to support the biggest graphics cards because they will actually run into this part of the structure. So that is something to watch out for. Now, hard drives, we talked a little bit about them earlier. Some of these have devices that you can put the hard drive in, or you can pull this out, put the hard drive in, and slip it back in. Those are nice. Cases like this, the hard drive, the 3.5-inch hard drive is hidden on the other side of this, so that is, really great. I actually love that part. All right, so that's about it, folks. I really want to talk now. I will end this by saying, these are in various stages, and except for computers that I actually would try and showcase, the wiring is sometimes done in the fastest way possible. So take that for a grain of salt. All right, so thanks for checking out the video. Please like, please subscribe.